Good morning. How are you doing? You're still here. That's what matters. Tell yourself that over and over and over again. You know, I keep thinking about these. How do I. The red hats, right? A lot of people look at that through the cult of a lens. That happens, sorry. The lens of a cult. And that's, you know, not, they're not wrong, I'm sure. The cult aficionados, the people with a cult background, like they know one when they see one. Um, I have a tendency to look at that through the lens of addiction. This is what I'm familiar with. Addiction and community belonging. I find a lot of those people are lacking a personality entirely. If they get rid of their red hat and their, you know, I'm an anti-vaxxer, what's left of them? You know what I mean? Do they have an identity at all? I mean, I don't think so, because it would be so very fragile that they're scared of, like, trans people. They think that that somehow is going to, it doesn't affect who I am. It doesn't affect my personality. It doesn't affect my identity, right? So what the fuck? I'm pretty secure, though, you know what I mean? I remember even in the days when I was a believer, which you'd consider a believer, way back when, I remember the movie The Golden Compass. This was shit, probably back in the 90s. It had come out in the theaters, and, you know, that, God-fearing tribe who doesn't have an identity unless they're attacking other things. They really went after that movie. It was evil and the devil and all that. Hey, by the way, so was Harry Potter. And I don't know. There's another one who doesn't have her own identity, the writer of that book series. Obviously. I mean, it's really unfortunate, because it's really unfortunate. That's all I have to say about that. That woman is very disappointing. I'm disappointed in her as a human being. So there's part of my identity for you. Anyway, that doesn't, where am I going with this? Oh, they are so fragile. I just remember thinking this back in the 90s, when the satanic panic was kind of kicking up again and getting weird. They're fucking weird. Anyway, all I can think is your faith so fragile that reading a book is going to somehow collapse your worldview? Will you stop believing because I read the book? I mean, you don't have to read the book. I'm going to read it. Am I a danger to you now because I read The Golden Compass? What does that say about you? How fragile are you that you're so easily, number one, led, number two, broken? Okay, so it's a cult. Yeah, I also think it's an addiction. And addictions are, you can create a physical dependency on a drug. So those are two different things. What I'm talking about is the addiction where it occupies your mind 24/7. It's the only thing you think of. But a lot of times that addiction comes with community. Like, you talk to alcoholics who go out to a bar. That's part of their social life. It's part of their identity. So you have to shed that. And that's very difficult for a lot of people. They don't know how to be themselves without being tuned up, right? Like they don't know what that is. And I think with the red hats, the same thing holds true. Who would they be if not for their red hat and their ivermectin? Dude. I love how they, on the one hand, Big Pharma is the devil and the enemy, but yet I'm going to take this Big Pharma drug because that's the answer to everything. I'm not a big fan of those clean eating crowds either, because I'm not, I bang against, don't eat fast food, don't drink the soda, make your own meals at home. That's not a clean eating view. That's a damn the man worldview. So we've replaced everything with something commodified. Like every single meal that you sit down for anymore has been prepackaged by some other company and then sold to you. I don't, and here's the thing, like I understand meal planning is difficult and cooking isn't fun. Like who, yeah, neither is laundry, but I have to do it, right? Like, like I don't know. Anyway, and I feel like the industry over the last 40 years has completely replaced every single meal that you eat. You are, we have become entirely dependent on this food system. And the problem with things like HelloFresh or a pre-boxed meal is that they can bulk buy good, fresh produce at a cheaper cost and then repackage it to you and sell it to you at a profit. And what that does is it takes all those fresh, good produce products off the shelves for the rest of us. You know what I mean? I don't like to cook, but I'm willing to do it because I also do laundry. You know, I don't like taking a shower. I think it's a tedious 20 minutes of my life. 7, let's be honest. I'm not even in there that long. But I do it, right? Wanting to or liking it has nothing to do with it. That's, I don't know, is that adulting? When you finally, like, there's a job that needs to be done, I'm going to do it because nobody's going to do it for me, right? So, this is I'm all over the place. The problem with being all over the place and not, I should have, I don't know, get a note card with some bullet points on it or something because I forget things I've said or, and then I might repeat myself or then I, forget the point I was even making in the first place, right? And so I'll be a mile off by the time the video ends and it has nothing to do with why I started. Identity, though, I think has a lot to do with it. The Redhead crew, I think they go out there searching for applause. This is the other thing with social media and why me personally, I don't, the analytics, like what are people in, what is my audience watching and what do they want more of? Social media is juicy. And I mean, in an addictive sense, somebody comes out and gives you a good compliment. And you're like, oh my goodness. Well, I am a god. Everybody wants to hear from me, right? Heroin works the same way. Promise. So I'm cautious with that, and especially with social media. So if you already are looking for the feel goods, and then plus you are without sort of a tribe or an identity, it's real easy to fall into a place that says, "Hey, you're welcome here. Your ideas are welcome here." Or maybe you're welcome here, and then it's just as long as you fall into line with us and our ideas. And I think a lot of them who would want to break off won't because they don't realize what the hell is out there. And to those of you, I don't, you know what I mean? Like there's people out here who say we need to give folks a soft place to land or what. Nobody does that for somebody going through withdrawal. Do you know what I mean? Like we're, and I'm not saying that folks should be shamed for addiction. Quite the opposite. I'm just saying there's a whole lot of talking out of both sides of our mouths out here, right? Like, I think the onus is on them. I can't help them with that. And if they're too weak to stand on their own 2 feet and get a spine, and I can't help them with that. So many of them, the bro podcasters, they did that shit for clicks and likes and applause because they're addicted to that. They need that in order to wake up every single morning and to, you know, I don't know, be fulfilled in some capacity. So that will be their legacy, is that they sat on a couch and talked into a microphone and then a bunch of squirrels next to them applauded. Yeah, you're so funny. I mean, if there's 3 people next to you think you're funny. But then the viewer, oh, well, he must be funny. They think he's funny. He's not funny. He's not funny. For the last, I don't know, a couple of decades, I haven't heard a single one of them come up with anything original. These comedian podcasters, nothing original. And we all have to just sort of suffer there's several decades of, I'm just asking questions, I'm just figuring it out. These men are well beyond 50, some of them, and they still don't know what the fuck. So I just like, at what point do we stop entertaining their Peter Pan? And just grow up. I mean, I guess that, they're online, they get to run their mouths and make a ton of money, and they have an audience that somehow identifies with that. Yeah, anyway, my whole point in this is that, I mean, yes, it's a cult, but I think we're missing another piece to it, which cults I imagine are probably addictive anyway because of that whole identity, community, and juice. I'm sure it's juicy, like in an addiction sense, okay, like in a heroin sense, that when you find community, even people who talk about like a religious catharsis, or I I remember, so I grew up, right, in a church, I, which we didn't call ourselves evangelical back then. I suppose it would be put in that, it's not Baptist, it's not, okay. Um, and so I went as a kid, right, with my mother, and then I grew up, and well, when she stopped going at some point, so it doesn't matter, okay. So I kind of went away from church, and then in my early 20s, I went back, and it had changed. Church had changed. The a lot of that shit didn't go on when I was a kid. And so it showed up when I come back in my early 20s, and I remember I was sitting next to a woman who's known my mother her whole life. They were contemporaries, they're friends. And she leans over and whispers to me, "You don't have to do that." I'm like, "Why are they doing that? Why are they doing that?" Like, it's this, I see it more like they're they're getting their high. They're getting their roll on. They're getting their juice, man. They're getting that same whap. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. Like, and I don't doubt that it hits the brain receptors exactly the same way. It has this, I don't know, this effect on the brain. And because it feels good, then it must be right. And that's not true. Heroin feels great. So, sorry, don't listen to me. It doesn't at all. So I'm making pithy, stupid jokes. Don't listen to me. um, yeah, because here's the thing. Think about it. If you have podcast comedian bros who are against everything, then what are they for? What are they for? Nothing. What do they stand for? Nothing. They're straw men, is what I would call them. An empty, vapid bag of just an empty. I mean, I'd say shit, but they're empty. So anybody can just fill them up with any kind of talking point, and they're going to repeat it because they're an empty box, essentially. They're an empty box. They get a couple of paid seals to like clap her next to them on the couch. Wow, I'm kind of wheezy today. That's no good. Anyway, what does all this mean? I don't know. I don't know. They're addicted to the juice, and they're gonna keep mainlining it until the end. Generally the trajectory, of both addicts and cults is not a good one. That's a fast track to crash and burn. I mean, we're seeing it on a different scale, but when a lot of us sit around and go, I don't get it. I mean, I don't either, but yet I do. I do. I have uncles. If they weren't hateful bigots, what would they be? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's their whole thing. It's who they are. They don't have a personality outside of repeating talking points. You know, like immigration or trans folks, the queer community. They're going to hate on them forever because if they don't, they might be forced to get a personality. Just hateful bigots. You know, so what's the answer to that? I don't know. Encourage other people not to be led by the nose. You know, one thing about this whole tube thing is, it's constantly feeding me what it thinks I am. I get these INFJ, Sigma, what the fuck, man? They're just making up new shit now. Like, just making up shit so they can throw out content. But here's the kicker. If you actually, were that type of personality, you don't need a video to confirm it. You don't need AI slop to tell you who you are. Because the truth about AI is you've told them who you are, and they're just regurgitating it back to you. AI doesn't come up with anything interesting, new, or original. It's just copying, pasting everything we've already said online. So that's why it's so shit, because it's only culling, maybe 3 or 10% of the population. What's the population rate that hangs out on social media? Is it like 20% maybe? It's not the whole population. It's like doctors. I've heard a nurse. This is sort of a similar analogy, okay? So I play video games. Sometimes you hang out with people, and about a decade ago, eight years ago, I suppose, there was a nurse in the chat, a male nurse. Anyway, and he was complaining about the people who come in to seek care and how they're all just pathetic and junkies and something else. And all I thought was, Bub, you only see 7% of the population, but now you believe that the entire population is that way because you saw 7%, and also you're seeing that 7% throughout like a shit light. I don't think you deserve to be paid to be a nurse. He's probably not doing that as a living anymore. Was he even a nurse or was he a student? I don't know. And nurses are not the same thing as nursing students. Some of those students don't make it to the end, and that's probably a good thing. I'm very hostile toward the medical community. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that, but I am. Anyway, I don't know. I guess I would encourage people to be careful about who's trying to tell you who you are. You make up your own mind. Read your own books. Don't be afraid. Jesus Christ. Sorry. See, I can't remember. Did I tell you about the Golden Compass when it came out in theaters all those years ago? Yeah. It was like satanic or some shit. Like, shut up. Oh, man. And, and here's the other thing. Like, anti-vaxxers, like, I could care less if they get vaccinated or not. It's just that it's their whole goddamn identity, and they cannot stop banging that drum. And they look down their noses at the regular, like all of us, just pedestrians who get a vaccine because polio. Thanks anyway. I don't want it. I don't want it. And I know that we've been vaccinating folks since the Middle Ages, so I'm fine with it. Probably, I think there's a couple of Caesars who have been known to be vaccinated. And then, whatever mRNA and vaccines and science and da-da-da-da, while you shove, Doritos in your mouth. Like, what the fuck's that shit made out of, right? Like, I should probably stop talking. I'm just blowing steam. I'm just curious. And I'm trying to push back a little bit, I guess, any way that we can, even a drop in the bucket. The thing is, even if nobody hears it, the algorithm does. And it can know what I say. And if I say something similar as a million other people, then maybe those million people will get a little louder than the 3 who have a microphone and don't say a goddamn thing every single time. How old is Joe Rogan? He's over 50 years old. Is he still playing the Peter Pan, just figuring things out? He's never going to find out and form an opinion of his own. That's pathetic. You know, or it's a grift is what I'd go with. Most of his shit looks made up to me. Like sometimes when he drops a line like, well, I don't know, that doesn't, it looks really forced to me. Like he's the worst actor on the planet. It's just very performative, I guess is the right word for that. But, you know, you can see through it. That's not authentic. He's not like talking off the cuff. That's some bullshit. You know, they all sat in the back in the production room and said, make sure you say this. Anyway, tomorrow is February. Well, I don't know what that means. It doesn't mean much. It means that time is moving forward, because that's what it does. Anyway, I should probably do something. I haven't done anything out here on the tubes in a hot minute. I'm kind of playing with it mostly. You know, I caught a thumbnail quite some time ago. I didn't watch the video, but the question was posed to AI. Which intelligence on the planet is smarter? And the response that came back was, there is only one intelligence, and it's playing with itself in the mirror. So that's kind of how I see it. That's what I'm doing here. Mostly, you know, I'm trying to be, you know, I have friends and family that watch that, you know, how you doing? I'm doing good. How are you doing? So, I don't know. Can you even follow my thought process? Probably not. It's fine. I don't know what else to say. I don't know if this is worth posting, but I guess, you know, I don't know. Are we looking at the Red Hat cult all wrong? Is there missing pieces? Do we even have to care anymore? Like, I don't want to be bothered. I shouldn't say that because they're the fucking problem, right? This Marjorie Taylor Greene and her about face, barely. She's like, she gave us this mess on a platter, and now she's trying to backpedal. And I, quite frankly, am tired of seeing her face. I know she should go around and yell and work as hard to get us out of this as she did to get us into this. But she won't. She won't. She already resigned from Congress, so she's not willing to. That's plain obvious. So she gets a pension, though, till the day she dies, so hooray for her. We're supposed to get like 3 inches of snow today. Which is fine. I'm unbothered by winter. Because I've lived here my whole life, and that's just a fact. So, you know, it's winter. It's almost gone, though. It's almost done. You know, come March 1st, it'll still be ugly and gross and cold and slushy, you know, and mucky, but the days get longer, and so it's just a matter of time. Besides, man, the future forecast, like the first week of February, we're hitting close to 40 degrees. That's not normal. That is not normal. That is not normal. Was it last year or the year before where we had like a 65-degree day in February. Dudes, I'm in North Dakota. That's not normal. The problem is, it's not like I can start gardening early, though. I mean, I kind of want to start tomato seeds and pepper seeds just so that I can grow shit, right? So I can do that. But our nighttime lows still drop below freezing. So, like, the daytime highs could be 65, but it could drop to effing 0. I'm not kidding. The swings get really, really wild. It's the problem with climate change, man. Everybody's like, it's supposed to get warmer. No, it's going to get more extreme. It's going to get a lot more extreme. A lot more extreme. We turned the oven up too high. And then we just sat back and said, that's okay now. It isn't just the burning of the fossil fuels, it's everything else. There's, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of it goes into that. Pavement, cities, they heat up, they don't cool down. Plowing the ground. Removing trees, you know, you don't have a windbreak anymore. You don't have anything to hold the water down anymore. When you tear all the roots out of the ground, there's nothing to hold the ground down. And it blows away. And study the Great Depression, or the Dust Bowl, I should say. Why that happened. That was a man-made catastrophe. Well done. So we're probably going to do it again, only worse on a global scale. But I don't, you know. And I think that the big corporate interests, they understand the power of cults and identity and groupthink and addiction, and they know that if we can just keep, if they can keep us on that treadmill, on that running, that revolving door of revenue, if we get addicted to the stuff they're selling us, then we're not going to let it go, and we won't make changes that are difficult or uncomfortable because the juice feels better. So, like, I would really appreciate it if all of America would stop streaming whatever, paying for shit, fucking subscriptions, app subscriptions. Like, there is people pay subscriptions for apps. Man, I've been living in a hole for too long. Cause what app do you pay for? Why would you pay for an app to use an app? What? Anyway, I don't. You know, like, quite frankly, I don't think the Oscars should even be televised. I don't think they should have it. I think like they should boycott that. They should stop doing that because it's a lot of ad revenue that they get to. There's advertisers that spend a whole bunch of money and then they get to write all that off as an operating cost anyway, in hopes that you will get addicted on the thing that they're trying to sell you. Right? You're gonna need that in order to survive. You need to make that part of your identity. Whatever this merch, swag, slop is that they're trying to sell us, it somehow needs to become part of your identity. Right? I caught this stupid ass joke that Andrew Schultz made about the fact that you can't vote for Biden because he doesn't have merch. I don't know, man. You sound like a toddler looking for a fucking action figure for your favorite superhero, if you ask me. Also, what was the other one? If somebody got in a fight, what the hell was that? It was something about like some real life person getting into a fight with a fictional character. Like, it wasn't Batman or anybody like that. But all I'm thinking is, dude, that shit's not real. That's not a real person. Like, Batman is not a real human being. Like, what? Or Superman or whatever. It reminds me of that conversation in Stand By Me. I don't know if you remember this. There was this point where the boys are having a conversation. Who do you think would win, Mickey Mouse or Superman? And one was like, idiot. One's a real man, the other one's a cartoon. No, they're both completely fictional. None of this would happen. This is a long ass, windy, stupid. This is probably for my own benefit. Like, meaning I'm just rambling for my own benefit. You know what I mean? But yeah, because I can't even remember why I started talking. Other than to say they're addicted to the juice. That's it. The red hats. Like, yeah, it's a cult, but also they're not going to give up their favorite drug. They won't. It provides them too much. It's, all this lights up. And they like how that feels. And where are they going to get it if they don't get it from that? How are they going to, who are they if they're not that? Do they have an identity at all to speak of? It's a bit like those, never mind, I won't even bring it up. I don't know, like gun culture, where people who are heavily into gun, because you can own a gun and not be, into that whole fucking 2A gun culture thing. Like, I get that, whatever, man. It's such a, nobody's going to do anything with them anyway. So, I mean, it's a big talk, but that's all it is. And then it becomes their whole identity. Because the truth is, they're not going to help any of us fucking survive a government that wants to murder us all in the street. So that's a lie that they tell themselves in order to reinforce their own identity because they don't have a fucking personality outside of their gun. Do you know what I mean? A great many of them can't field dress their own game. Like, they can't. They don't. I don't know that a lot of them have even been hunting. They have no idea. None. I'd bet my house on it. I know so many who really have no business owning one because they're a dipshit and a fool. They have no idea what they're doing. But, that's the world we live in, man. So they can do what they want with it. Yeah, I will say, and the ones that I do know that are competent and capable, they don't talk about it. They don't have to flex at all. They don't buy merch. They don't wear caps with this stupid fucking logo on it. They don't. They don't. Why would they need to do that? I don't need to simp for a gun manufacturer. I don't need to wear their gear. It's not who, that's not my name, first off. My last name isn't Remington. So why the hell would I wear that? I just don't get it, man. I don't, the crowd shit, I don't understand that. Like, it's just so many folks just will not make up a mind decision for themselves. They got to be part of the crowd because God forbid if they're out there alone. I don't know. Anyway, long ramble. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I should do something. Dude, it's winter outside. I want to garden and, I can't really because, oh, how was that for an accent, right? It popped out. They garden. I'm not. That's fine. I don't really care. But I want to be outside and, it's going to be a while yet. So I'm stuck in the house, and which means that I'm stuck with myself thinking, which I don't know, maybe more people should sit around and do. Sit with yourself. Do you hate yourself, who you are, so much that you got to wear someone else's name? Just asking. Anyway, I'll hang up now. You have a good day.